Welcome to Ask Beck and Liz, where no topic is off limits. We want to answer your questions about business, life, and everything in between. If you have a question for us, send your questions to ask@beckandliz.com. That's ask@beckandliz.com. All right, Elizabeth, our question today
Yes.
has to do with why we would prefer to compete rather than collaborate. Do you have any thoughts on that? Why would we rather compete than just collaborate?
It's an interesting question. And I think most of us have been raised to compete. The systems are set up that way. Everything I've ever done, you're in a competitive work environment. You want to get the promotion. You want to get the raise. And if you get the promotion, maybe someone else won't. If you don't get it, someone else is going to. So I think the mindset has always been set up to be that way. When I was a dance teacher, there's one prima ballerina, there's one solo for this thing, there's one, duet for the other. So I think that it's just kind of ingrained in who we are in our country, probably particularly. And then you look at the way businesses are set up. You're taught to protect your intellectual property. You're taught to copyright. You're taught to trademark. You're taught to keep it all close to the vest. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I do think that in order to sort of break out of that, especially as Edible Arrangements has done, partnering with other strategic partners in the industry, you have to sort of break down that barrier. What do you think?
I agree. I think some of it is, like you said, a cultural thing, especially here in the US. We reward competition, and competition we consider good. It's part of the free enterprise system. We're always looking for a competitive advantage. It's what we're taught in schools. It's what we're taught in sports. It's what we're taught in dance. So it is kind of ingrained in our culture. And I also think it's innate that whether it's this feeling of there's only so much, kind of that lack consciousness. So therefore I have to compete to get my piece of the pie, so to speak. So it really is sort of a combination of nurture and nature. We want to compete to get to be at the front of the line, or, capture that particular market share. So it is an interesting dynamic, and it's one that's nurtured here in business. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think wanting to compete is a bad thing, but I do think that there are times you are more competitive when you collaborate, that co-opetition kind of idea, that if you can create this win-win, that is going to be allow us to grow to that next level. But because it's not innate for us to collaborate or to be in a cooperative kind of place, it literally forces us to get outside our comfort zone, right? We're used to, like you said, guarding and protecting what we believe is ours, and fighting for things. We don't typically think in collaborative ways.
Well, it's so much that thinking of the, it's pie, it's not pie, there's enough for everyone. And no one's saying give away all your trade secrets. No one's saying don't protect your intellectual property, but there are ways in which you can partner that will benefit everyone and grow. And I think you and I have come together in a way that is collaborative and beneficial to both of us with our different perspectives and experiences. And hopefully what we're going to be able to do is grow beyond where we've been to include more women and help other women promote what they're doing.
Right.
To me, if you're not able to share that knowledge or wisdom or success, it's kind of like, what are you doing it for? I mean, in every instance of life, you can see where that kind of ability to mentor or lead or share or partner is so much more beneficial than being an island.
But therein lies the problem, right? Because much of the reason we don't collaborate, if you look at human nature, right, is because of our own egos, our own identity, that if I collaborate, then I can't take credit for that,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not me any longer. It is us kind of thing. So this collaborative energy requires a subduing of our pride and of our ego, knowing, as you pointed out, that as we collaborate, even as competitors, as we collaborate, there is greater benefit to those that we serve. But it requires stepping back and saying, it's no longer just about me, and my identity needs to take a second, take second seat instead of first seat, like what you were describing with the violinist or the ballerina. We are now, a symphony of women or symphony of people working
Mm-hmm.
together, and we can make more beautiful music together. And there is no star any longer, and that's not easy, especially in a world that is all more self-absorbed and self-centered, to set our egos and our pride aside.
It's such an interesting thing. And actually, my husband and I have been talking about this sort of mentality because we just watched The Last Dance, which is the Michael Jordan documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really interesting sort of study on ego versus team,
Mm-hmm.
or ego and team as a collaboration. It's just, all of those questions are so fluid. And would Michael Jordan have been as successful if he weren't driven beyond, like blindly driven to do what he did? Mm-hmm. Yet he tried to pull the other people along with him, but don't say good game after a loss, because he's going to come out and crush you the next day. I mean, it was a fascinating story in terms of all of those things, because where do you find the place for ego, for competition, for co-opetition, that all boils down to success?
Exactly. And that is like, it's a recipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a recipe where we are now sharing in our resources, our intellectual property, our energy, our ideas, whatever it is, money. We're sharing in our resources. We're sharing in responsibility, which allows one person that has a gifting here to do only that thing, and this person who has a gifting here to do that thing, which makes both of us stronger, both of us better. But in turn, we risk our reputation. We risk our, what if she lets me down, or he lets me down, or this team lets me down? So there's this need to say, okay, we get to share in responsibility and resources, and we're going to have a bigger impact. But if they don't perform, or they don't step up, or they don't do their piece, I could risk my own identity, my own reputation. And so it's that wonderful balance where you kind of go, okay, am I willing to risk my ego, my reputation, knowing I'm going to have a greater influence by collaborating, and even being in a cooperative, competitive sort of environment.
Yep. I mean, it's a risk reward, like everything in life. And I liked what Somia said when we interviewed her. If you're going to fail, fail fast.
Yeah.
So I guess if you do it, go for it, and then fix it quick if you realize it's a bad fit. So maybe that's part of the key of the formula, knowing when to step back.
And to make sure it's a fit, right? That who you're collaborating with is someone that's a good fit with you, that has similar mission, similar values, etc.
Right. So that's where Rebecca Monet comes in, the queen of good fit.
The queen of fit. The queen of fit.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. I love this topic, Elizabeth, and I wish we could talk about it for 100 years. But in the meantime, thank you, everyone, for joining us today, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged. This is Beck and Liz signing off and wishing you another purpose-filled and profitable week.
And one last footnote, be sure to check out thecoteryforwomen.com. It's our new brand that's upcoming. We have big announcements coming soon, but go check out our website and let us know what you think. We will see you next time.